Hello friends, and welcome back to History Chronicles. In our last episode, we saw how Germany unleashed its blitzkrieg on France, bypassing the Maginot Line and swiftly moving toward Paris. The French army, caught off guard, collapsed under the weight of the German assault. But the invasion of France was not just a story of strategic brilliance. It was also marked by intense and decisive battles that shaped the outcome of the campaign. Today, we'll take a closer look at the key battles of the French campaign, from the daring German breakthrough at Sedan to the desperate defense at Dunkirk. Each of these battles played a critical role in the fall of France and highlighted the brutal efficiency of the German war machine. The Battle of Sedan, breaking through the French defenses. The first and most crucial battle in the German invasion of France was the Battle of Sedan, fought between May 12th and May 15th, 1940. Sedan was located on the Meuse River, right at the junction of the French defense line. This battle was a key part of the Sickle-Schnitt plan, as it allowed the Germans to break through the French defenses and open the path for their armored divisions to sweep into the French interior. The French had believed that the Ardennes Forest would serve as a natural barrier against any large-scale attack. However, the Germans used their panzer divisions to cut through the forest with surprising speed. By the time the French realized what was happening, it was too late. German forces reached Sedan and began crossing the Meuse River under heavy artillery and air cover. The French defenders were caught completely off guard. The speed of the German attack and the overwhelming firepower of the Luftwaffe decimated the French lines. Within just 3 days, the Germans had forced the French to retreat, opening the floodgates for a German advance deep into France. The victory at Sedan was decisive. It shattered the French army's defensive plan and left the road to Paris open. For the Germans, the battle was proof that their blitzkrieg tactics were highly effective against traditional defensive strategies. The Battle of Arras, a British counterattack. With the fall of Sedan, the Germans pushed westward, aiming to encircle the British and French forces in northern France. As the Germans advanced toward the Channel coast, the British Expeditionary Force, PAF, and the French army were desperately trying to organize a counterattack. The result was the Battle of Arras, fought on May 21st, 1940. The British launched a surprise counterattack near the town of Arras, hoping to slow down the German advance. Led by British Matilda 6 tanks, the attack initially caught the Germans off guard. The heavily armored British tanks managed to penetrate German lines, and for a brief moment, it seemed as though the Allies might be able to halt the German advance. However, the Germans quickly regrouped. Using their superior numbers and air support, they were able to surround the British forces and neutralize the attack. The Battle of Arras was a costly failure for the Allies, and it demonstrated the overwhelming firepower and coordination of the German forces. The Germans continued their advance toward the coast, and the British were forced to retreat toward Dunkirk. The Siege of Dunkirk, a miracle evacuation. As the Germans raced toward the coast, tens of thousands of British, French, and Belgian soldiers found themselves trapped near the beaches of Dunkirk. With the Germans closing in from all sides, the situation seemed hopeless. However, what followed was one of the most remarkable episodes of the entire war, the Dunkirk evacuation, also known as Operation Dynamo. From May 26 to June 4, 1940, the Allied forces staged a desperate evacuation from Dunkirk. British naval vessels, along with hundreds of civilian boats, ferried over 300,000 soldiers across the English Channel to safety in Britain. The evacuation was nothing short of miraculous, as German forces were just miles away from capturing the entire Allied force. One of the key reasons the evacuation succeeded was that Hitler, on the advice of his generals, ordered a temporary halt to the German advance toward Dunkirk. This delay gave the Allies enough time to organize the evacuation, saving a large portion of their forces. While Dunkirk was a major defeat for the Allies, the successful evacuation meant that Britain could continue the fight, and it provided a much-needed boost to Allied morale. For the French soldiers left behind, however, the situation was dire. Many were captured by the Germans, while others fought to the bitter end, as the German army continued its march through France. The Battle of Lille, heroic French resistance. One of the most overlooked yet important battles of the French campaign was the Battle of Lille, fought from May 28th to June 1st, 1940. As the Germans advanced through northern France, a group of French forces in the city of Lille decided to make a stand. Surrounded by German forces, the French defenders put up a fierce resistance, holding out for several days despite being heavily outnumbered. The defense of Lille was significant because it bought precious time for the Allied evacuation at Dunkirk. While the French defenders ultimately surrendered, their bravery allowed thousands of Allied soldiers to escape to safety. The Battle of Lille is remembered as one of the few moments of heroic resistance during the collapse of France. The fall of Paris, a nation in ruins. With the evacuation at Dunkirk complete, the Germans turned their attention to the rest of France. On June 10, 1940, the German army launched its final push toward Paris. By this point, the French army was in disarray, and there was little hope of stopping the German advance. The French government, realizing that Paris could not be defended, declared the city an open city, meaning that it would not be defended in order to avoid its destruction. On June 14, 1940, German forces entered Paris without facing any resistance. The City of Light, once the symbol of European culture and power, had fallen to the Nazis. The fall of Paris was a devastating blow to France. For the French people, it marked the end of their independence and the beginning of a long and brutal occupation. For the Germans, it was the culmination of their rapid and stunning conquest of Western Europe. The Battle of the Loire, the final stand. As the Germans continued their advance through France, French forces attempted to regroup and make a final stand along the Loire River. This last line of defense was intended to protect the southern part of France and buy time for a potential counterattack. However, by this point, the French army was shattered, and the Germans were too strong. The Battle of the Loire, fought in mid-June, was the last major battle of the French campaign. The Germans quickly overwhelmed the French defenders, and by June 22, 1940, France officially surrendered to Germany. The surrender was signed in the same railway carriage where Germany had surrendered at the end of World War I, a humiliating end for France. Conclusion. As we conclude this chapter on the swift and brutal German invasion of France, it's clear that the impact of these early battles would echo throughout the war. The rapid fall of France not only reshaped the European landscape, but also set the stage for future conflicts and alliances. In our next episode, we will discuss Italy's declaration of war on France, exploring how this decision further complicated the already tumultuous situation in Europe. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to History Chronicles, and enable notifications to stay updated on our next video. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep exploring history with us.